welcome to Explain It Like I'm 5. It's officially fall, as noted by my last video, but I'm going to keep the fall spirit and talk about the history of pumpkin spice in today's episode. So pumpkin spice is super popular now. Everybody loves pumpkin spice. There's pumpkin spice everything now, literally everything. It's an awesome flavor and it just feels so much like fall. So here's a little bit of the history of how pumpkin spice became the popular flavor that it is today. So like I said, now that it's officially fall, everything is pumpkin spice. But how did we become so obsessed with pumpkin spice things? Funny enough, most pumpkin spice foods and drinks don't even contain actual pumpkin. The reason why pumpkin has been associated with these flavors is because they are the spices that have been used in pumpkin cooking for a long time. The first known reference in American cookbooks comes from American Cooking by Amelia Simmons. It refers to a pumpkin and calls for molasses, allspice, and ginger as spices in the recipe. One of the first times this spice blend was referred to as pumpkin spice comes from a recipe for pumpkin spice cakes, featured in the Washington Post in 1936. Fast forward to the 1950s when spice companies like McCormick began selling a mixture of common spices used in pumpkin pies and calling it pumpkin pie spice. And by the 1960s, it became known simply as pumpkin spice. This pumpkin spice started showing up in recipes like one for cream of sweet potato soup published in the Orlando Sentinel in 1995. Pumpkin spice also became a textile color and a candle in 1995, but the first reference to pumpkin spice coffee came in 1996. Home Roast Coffee near Tampa, Florida came out with pumpkin spice beans. By 1998, it spread to places like Whole Bean in Las Vegas and Faceiggs in Allentown, Pennsylvania. By the early 2000s, it became a latte and was featured in the Colorado Springs Gazette in January 2002, which writes that Purple Mountain Coffee in Colorado was offering a pumpkin spice latte. And in 2004, Starbucks grabbed hold of the drink and introduced their pumpkin spice latte. And then pumpkin spice became trendy, and here we are today. So it started out as a blend of spices to flavor pumpkins, kind of bland taste, and now it has become a crazy autumn time obsession. Yeah, so that is pumpkin spice, the history of pumpkin spice. And in this video, I'm also going to be doing a food tutorial, how to make pumpkin spice Rice Krispie treats. So keep watching to see me make some pumpkin spice Rice Krispie treats and show you guys how to do it. I'm gonna show you how to make pumpkin spice Rice Krispie treats. So here are the ingredients. So you will need 3 tablespoons of butter, 1/4 a cup of pumpkin puree, 1 bag of marshmallows, 1/4 a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/8 teaspoon of ground cloves, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 6 cups of Rice Krispies, and 2 ounces of white chocolate. Alright, so I have already laid out all of my ingredients here. So let's get started. First things first, you want to grease your pan. I just use butter, but you can use coconut oil or Nonstick Cooking spray, whatever you want for that. Then you're going to need a giant saucepan. And the first thing we're going to do is melt our butter in the saucepan. So over medium heat, you're just going to want to melt the butter. And once that's melted, you're going to add in your pumpkin puree. So I added my pumpkin, and you want to heat up the pumpkin just enough so it is warm. Now once the pumpkin is heated all the way through, you're going to add your marshmallows. And it's super duper important that you stir continuously because you do not want to burn the marshmallows. One time I was making Rice Krispie treats and I completely burned the marshmallows and they turned out totally brown. and I still ate them, but they were pretty gross. So, like I said, you have to be super careful that the marshmallows do not burn. So, do not leave the stove and keep on stirring. Look how pretty it looks. It's looking good. So once the marshmallows are all the way melted, you're going to take them off the heat. So mine is done. So I just turned off the stove, and now I'm going to add the cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, vanilla, and salt. Here are the spices, so I'm just going to add those in like so. And then I'm going to add in the vanilla and stir those all in. I'm just stirring in all of the spices. It's starting to smell like pumpkin pie. Alright. So once that is all the way stirred in, you are going to let your marshmallow mixture cool for 20 minutes at room temperature. I had never heard of this step before for Rice Krispie treats. I always thought that the marshmallow would harden really fast, but this recipe calls for it so you don't end up with soggy Rice Krispie treats. So we're just going to let this sit and come back in 20 minutes. Alright, now that the marshmallows and pumpkin have cooled, we're going to add our Rice Krispies. So we're going to add 6 cups of Rice Krispies. And stir them together. Until all of the Rice Krispies are coated with the marshmallow. I'm going to make sure that all the marshmallow is evenly coated on the Rice Krispies. They look so good. They smell like pumpkin pie. I'm so excited. The Rice Krispies are fully coated, so now we're going to transfer them into the baking pan. So we're going to take the Rice Krispies and put them into the pan. Once all the Rice Krispies and marshmallow mixture is in the pan, you want to flatten it out nicely with a spatula. Alright, so the Rice Krispies are all flattened down nicely. So now we're going to put them in the fridge to let them set for an hour. So the Rice Krispie treats have cooled in the fridge for an hour. And now I'm going to melt my white chocolate to drizzle on top. So I decided to go with Ghirardelli, but you can pick whatever type of white chocolate or even milk chocolate that you like. So I poured about half the bag into the bowl, maybe a little bit more. And I'm going to stick it in the microwave. It's super duper important when you're melting chocolate in the microwave to melt it in 15-second increments. Because if you don't do that, you have a more likely chance of burning the chocolate, and it's horrible when you burn chocolate. It gets this awful texture, and it's just really gross, and there's no way to fix it. So make sure you microwave the chocolate chips for 15 seconds, take it out, stir it, and keep doing that until all the chocolate is melted. That will prevent you from burning your chocolate chips. And it is all set. Nice and melted. And we're going to drizzle on the white chocolate. I'm just going to use a spoon that I used to mix the chocolate as my drizzle spoon. So here is the finished product, and I'm going to let the chocolate cool a little bit and harden, and then I'm going to cut the Rice Krispies into squares. Chocolate is all hardened, so now I'm going to cut the Rice Krispie treats into squares. And here is the finished product. So I'm going to taste test it. Oh my gosh, they're like super pumpkin-y Rice Krispie treats. Yum. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed learning about the history of pumpkin spice and learning how to make pumpkin spice Rice Krispie treats. So let me know how they turn out if you guys try to make them. And hope you guys enjoy this glorious season of pumpkin spice. My information came from Chicagoist, The Dark and Murky History of Pumpkin Spice. And I will leave a list of the ingredients and the directions for the Rice Krispie treats down in the description box below. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you're excited about pumpkin spice things, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you all next week. Bye!